now, when it comes down to buzzbait versus horny toad, I keep both tied on pretty much all the time. But when do you throw which one? Well, obviously, if you're in a lot of vegetation, like you have to throw horny toad because most types of vegetation are going to wrap around the blade of a buzzbait. You can throw it in the opening, stuff like that. But if I've got thicker vegetation, floating stuff like Gunnersville, some places like that, you got a bunch of floating eelgrass and stuff that's chopped up, you got to throw a horny toad. And that's pretty simple and obvious when you do that. But the one thing that I've done over the years, I throw buzzbait and horny toad pretty much anytime hotter months all year. So I target, when I'm decide to pick up that buzzbait, if you got some chop on the water, it's windy, you can get way more bites on the buzzbait. But when it's dead slick, a lot of times I think that buzzbait is too intrusive, and I'll throw just the plain horny toad, even if there's no vegetation. If I'm just throwing it on wood or docks or whatever, I will still throw just the plain horny toad when it's dead slick. Or when I think the fish are just getting pressured like crazy. Like a lot of times in the fall especially, everybody on the lake will be throwing a buzzbait. Well, you take a horny toad and just throw it in open water, whether it's rock or whatever, just a little bit different look, and you catch some fish that are pressured that wouldn't eat that buzzbait. That'd be too intimidating for her. So I alternate back and forth between the two, and colors wise on both, black and white is generally my go-tos, but I alternate back and forth between the two depending on conditions. So in recent years, the trend, I know when I was little and I used to fish with my dad growing up, there was no such thing as a horny toad buzzbait. It looked like a spinnerbait with a buzzbait blade. You threw a skirted, plain old buzzbait. Well, in recent years, you're starting to see more of a trend of the horny toad on the buzzbait. And I think the reason that is, and the reason I prefer a horny toad on a buzzbait most of the time, is casting accuracy. You simply can't take a skirted buzzbait and skip it under a dock. Some people might can, but I can't. So to skip it, you can skip it in places, you can fish a buzzbait in places where fish have never seen a buzzbait because it'll skip under docks, skip under bushes, cast real well. The only situation I will kind of talk about that I actually still throw a skirted buzzbait, a lot of times, especially like in the fall when fish are eating little bitty bait, if you think the fish are keyed in on small forage, then sometimes a skirt will work better because a horny toad, that's a big profile. I mean, that's just the nature of it. It's a big bait, that's why I like it because it's easy to cast. But if they're eating on really small forage or they want a bait moving extremely fast, then a skirted buzzbait may outfish a horny toad. But I would say 8 out of 10 times, I'm going with a horny toad versus a skirted buzzbait. So with this horny toad on a buzzbait, it's a little different because you reel it extremely slow. It takes nothing to keep this bait on top. And that's one of the good things about it. When you're covering water with it, it's easy to keep it on top. Like when it lands, it immediately comes back up. But you can reel it extremely slow. I mean, I would almost say it's borderline like wake bait to keep it up. So that's why I love throwing this horny toad on the buzzbait. It's real effective for getting it up in the strike zone, which is the top, obviously, as quick as possible. But when I'm targeting, like deciding where I'm gonna throw this, it's gonna sound cliche, but it's really putting your trolling motor down and burning down the bank. With a buzzbait, that's why I love it so much. It shines the most when it's a tough time of year. And with that being said, during a tough time of year, a lot of times it's tough because there's not groups of fish. So I like to keep the boat moving. I'm fishing, when I'm throwing a buzzbait primarily, I'm targeting not schools of fish because you're fishing, top water. There's probably not a big school there, but I'm trying to catch that one fish and hit as many likely targets as possible.
And the information Bass University provides isn't your basic run-of-the-mill fishing video. This is specific information from A to Z to help you learn, get to the water, and become a better angler quickly.